The moment you release what you cannot control, the universe begins arranging miracles you never imagined possible. There comes a time in everyone's life when holding on becomes heavier than letting go. You push, you struggle, you fight circumstances with your mind alone, yet nothing seems to move. And in that exhaustion, a quiet truth whispers, "What if the very thing blocking your blessing is your need to control everything?" This speech will show you a deeper, higher law, one that has transformed countless lives, a law that works silently, consistently, and powerfully the moment you align with it. By the end of this message, you will know how to release fear, how to surrender struggle, and how to allow the universe to deliver exactly what you have been seeking. Keep watching until the end, because the final part contains a method you can use tonight, one that can create visible shifts in your life within days. There is an invisible intelligence moving through all things. It is the breath of creation, the life within every atom, the power that turns seeds into forests and dreams into reality. You do not have to force this power, nor do you need to manipulate life to make it bend to your will. The universe already knows the path. The difficulty begins only when you resist it. When you try to control everything, you shrink your world to the size of your fear. You operate from limitation, believing everything must be solved by your effort alone. But life is not meant to be lived in tension. It is meant to flow. It is meant to unfold through inspiration, not desperation. Letting go is not giving up. Letting go is allowing a higher intelligence to guide you where your limited reasoning cannot. It is releasing the tight grip of anxiety and replacing it with inner calm. It is recognizing that the same power that moves planets is guiding your steps. When you release control, you create space for solutions to appear. You allow synchronicities, opportunities, and unexpected blessings to enter. The mind tries to figure out how everything will work, but the universe specializes in the unexpected. What you call uncertainty is simply life's way of arranging something better than you could design. Many people think surrender means weakness. In truth, surrender is alignment. You align your desire with the deeper wisdom of the universe. You say, "Here is my intention, and I trust the perfect path." Once this trust forms, something remarkable happens. The right people appear, the right ideas emerge, and the circumstances shift in your favor. The deepest part of you already knows this truth. When you have felt moments of peace, clarity, or sudden answers, that is the universe speaking through your intuition. When you act from intuition, you act from power. When you cling to fear, you act from limitation. The key is to quiet the mind, calm the emotional noise, release the demand for certainty. When you let go, you rise into a higher state where guidance comes naturally. Problems resolve without struggle. Doors open where you once saw walls. What looked impossible begins to unfold with ease. Tonight, instead of worrying, sit in silence and say, "I release control. I trust the universe. I welcome the perfect outcome." Feel the relief wash through your body. Feel the tension leave your mind. The moment you enter this state, you activate the law of allowance, the law that brings your desire into form not through force but through alignment. Trust the timing, trust the process, trust the unseen forces working for your good. What is meant for you will arrive when you stop trying to control how it comes. And when it arrives, you will realize the universe was always guiding you, lovingly, patiently, and perfectly. Letting go opens the flow of higher guidance in ways the ordinary mind cannot fully comprehend, because the act of release shifts you from a state of mental tension into a state of inner alignment. When you cling tightly to worries, outcomes, and timelines, you close the door to the deeper wisdom that is always trying to reach you. The mind becomes crowded with noise, fear, and pressure, leaving no space for inspiration to enter. But the moment you loosen your grip and say, even silently, that you are willing to trust something beyond your limited sight, you create an opening within yourself. This opening is not physical, yet it is felt unmistakably. It feels like relief, like a quiet exhale that has been waiting inside you for years. It is in this space that higher guidance begins to flow. Guidance does not come through force, and it does not shout its way into your awareness. It whispers, it nudges, it gently lights up a direction or a feeling, and because these signals are subtle, You can only sense them when you release the pressure you place on yourself. When a person is consumed by fear or overthinking, they operate in a very narrow mental range. Their mind tries to solve life through logic alone, not realizing that logic, while useful, is limited. There are dimensions of wisdom that do not function through reasoning, but through intuition, insight, and inner knowing. These dimensions cannot be accessed by a mind that is tense or rigid. They open only when you step into surrender, because surrender slows the frantic activity of the mind and allows the deeper layers of consciousness to emerge. Letting go is not passive. It is a deliberate act of choosing trust over fear, openness over resistance. When you let go, you are not abandoning your goals or your desires. Instead, you are releasing the belief that you must control the entire journey. You release the belief that outcomes must unfold exactly as you imagine, in the time you imagine, through the channels you imagine. This release frees your energy, clears your mental space, and allows guidance to flow in ways that are more accurate and more aligned with anything your pressured mind could produce. There is a universal intelligence operating through everything. It is present in the precision of nature, the harmony of seasons, the cycles of growth, and the intuitive movements of every living being. This same intelligence is active within you, speaking through your intuition, your insights, your instincts, and the quiet knowing that arises when you are not drowning in your own thoughts. When you let go, you are not stepping into emptiness, you are stepping into connection with that intelligence. You are allowing it to guide your choices, your steps, your timing, and your direction. Most people try to control life because they fear uncertainty. They fear the unknown, believing that they must manage every detail to stay safe. But higher guidance works through the unknown. It works through possibilities you have not considered, paths you have not yet seen, and opportunities that exist outside your current awareness. When you cling to control, you block these possibilities. You restrict yourself to what your mind already knows, forgetting that what your mind knows is only a fragment of what is truly possible. Letting go expands your field of possibility. It opens doors you could not have planned and connects you with outcomes that are more harmonious than anything you could force into existence. Higher guidance often arrives through feelings rather than thoughts. A sense of ease pointing you in one direction. A sense of heaviness telling you something is not right for you. A quiet certainty that comes without explanation. A sudden shift of perspective that dissolves confusion. These signals are present in every moment, but when your mind is filled with fear-based control, you override these signals with worry and logic. Letting go allows these signals to rise to the surface. It helps you recognize what resonates with your true path and what pulls you away from it. Guidance also comes through synchronicities, those meaningful coincidences that show up when you are aligned. The right person appears at the right time. The right message arrives when you need it. The right idea drops into your mind without effort. These events are not random. They are reflections of your inner state. When you let go and trust, you align yourself with the natural rhythm of the universe, and life begins to respond to your energy. But when you try to force outcomes, you become misaligned, and the flow cannot reach you. Letting go creates inner clarity. It quiets the chaotic mind and removes the fog created by fear. In that clarity, you can finally hear yourself. You can distinguish between what you truly want and what your fear insists you must chase. You can sense which direction feels right, even if it makes no logical sense. You can recognize the difference between inspired action and forced action. Inspired action feels light, natural, and energizing. Forced action feels heavy, stressful, and exhausting. Higher guidance always leads you toward inspired action, and you can only perceive this guidance when you release control. In this state of openness, you begin to notice that life communicates with you constantly, a thought that repeats, a feeling that lingers, an inner pull towards something new, a sudden release of something old. When you let go, you stop resisting these messages and start listening. And as you listen, the path becomes clearer. You begin to notice that guidance does not come as a full map, but as one step at a time. And that is enough, because each step reveals the next when you are aligned. The greatest shifts in life happen not when you push, but when you allow. Allowing is not inactivity, It is cooperation with a higher flow. It is trusting that the universe is on your side, that life is not working against you, that guidance is always available, and that you are never navigating your journey alone. Letting go opens the door to this truth. It frees you from the illusion that you must manage life through fear. It connects you with the deeper wisdom that has been guiding you since the beginning, waiting patiently for the moment you stop gripping and start trusting. When you attempt to control every detail of your life, you create a tension that blocks the natural flow of good that is trying to reach you. Control is rooted in fear, in the belief that if you don't push, force, or manipulate outcomes, nothing will unfold in your favor. But the universe is not moved by fear. It responds to calm expectancy, relaxed confidence, and inner trust. When you trust, you release the emotional pressure that keeps your desires from taking form. You stop overthinking, overanalyzing, and overmanaging what is meant to unfold in its own perfect rhythm. Control compresses your energy, but trust expands it. Control says, "I must make this happen," while trust says, "the right outcome is already on its way." One constricts, the other allows. One creates stress, the other invites alignment. The moment you choose trust, your inner state shifts. Your breathing changes, your thoughts slow down, and your emotions soften. This inner calm sends a powerful signal to the universe that you are no longer blocking the path. You step out of the vibration of scarcity and into the vibration of possibility. Control is an attempt to protect yourself from the unknown, but trust is the recognition that the unknown contains your greatest blessings. Life begins to work for you the moment you stop resisting its flow. You were never meant to micromanage every detail. You were meant to align with what you desire and let the greater intelligence orchestrate the how. Every time you cling to control, you are telling the universe that you do not believe it can deliver what you need. You try to handle everything through logic and force, yet the biggest breakthroughs rarely come from effort alone. They come from alignment, synchronicity, timing, intuition, and unseen support. When you trust, you give these forces permission to operate. You create an energetic openness that invites solutions you could never have designed on your own. Even if nothing appears to be happening on the surface, trust allows unseen arrangements to form behind the scenes. Opportunities move toward you in silence before they appear in form. Trust keeps the channel open long enough for them to reach you. Control is a form of resistance because it carries the vibration of doubt. It says, "I don't believe the outcome will come unless I force it." But trust dissolves that doubt. Trust places you in harmony with the very energy that creates worlds. Trust turns your desire into a magnetic signal. Instead of chasing outcomes, you begin attracting them. Instead of worrying about timing, you begin aligning with it. Instead of resisting what is unfolding, you allow it to guide you towards something better. Manifestation does not happen because you struggle. It happens because you are in the right inner state. Trust is that state. Every time you breathe deeply and release the urge to control, you lift your energy. Every time you choose patience over panic, you move into alignment. Every time you surrender the how, the universe brings the how to you. Trust is not passive. It is a powerful creative force that signals readiness, openness, and faith in the unseen. It activates paths that control could never open. You may not understand all the steps, but you are not meant to. You are meant to hold the vision, not the blueprint. The vision is your job. The unfolding is the universe's job. When you trust, you say yes to this partnership. You allow life to support you in the ways it naturally wants to. The moment you stop trying to control outcomes, they begin shifting in your favor. Solutions appear, opportunities arise, people show up, insights flow in, and obstacles dissolve. Trust turns struggle into ease and pressure into peace. Trust allows manifestation to happen naturally, in its own timing, through paths you could never have predicted. When the mind becomes quiet, a deeper layer of intelligence begins to rise within you, and this intelligence expresses itself as intuition. Most people misunderstand intuition, imagining it as a sudden feeling, a vague whisper, or a mysterious instinct. Yet intuition is far more powerful and precise than that. It is the voice of the deeper self. the part of you that is connected to the infinite wisdom of the universe, the part that is never confused, never fearful, and never limited by appearances. This deeper intelligence is always offering guidance, direction, and insight, but it can only be heard when the noise of fear and overthinking is reduced. A mind overflowing with worry, doubt, and analysis cannot perceive the subtle signals that intuition sends, because intuition does not shout. It speaks softly, quietly, and with absolute clarity. This is why calming the mind is essential. When your mind is filled with tension, your inner guidance is drowned out by internal conflict. But the moment your mind relaxes, clarity begins to rise effortlessly. Imagine your intuition as a still, clear lake. When the water is calm, you can see all the way to the bottom, but when the water is disturbed, cloudy, or agitated, everything becomes distorted. In the same way, when your thoughts are chaotic, your perceptions are clouded, and you cannot access the deeper truths within yourself. But as soon as you slow your thinking, even slightly, your inner vision becomes sharp. This is when answers often appear suddenly, even though they were always present. Clarity is not something you chase, it is something that emerges when you stop chasing. As your mind relaxes, you begin to notice insights that were previously hidden behind layers of fear-based thinking. These insights guide your decisions, show you the next steps, and illuminate solutions that the logical mind cannot generate. Calming the mind is not about forcing yourself into silence or trying to suppress your thoughts. It is about loosening the grip of worry and allowing your awareness to settle naturally. When you reduce the momentum of your thoughts even a little, you shift into a state that is far more receptive. In this state, intuitive impressions come through more distinctly. You might feel a gentle nudge toward a certain action, a sense of knowing without explanation, an inner pull that directs you towards something better, or a sudden idea that seems to appear out of nowhere. These impressions are not random, they are the guidance of the universe, translated into the language of your inner awareness. The intuitive mind is connected to a vast field of intelligence that the rational mind cannot access. While logic works only with the information already stored in your memory, intuition draws from a deeper well of insight that is not bound by time, past experiences, or limitations. When your mind is calm, you become receptive to this greater wisdom. You begin to make choices that feel aligned, authentic, and inspired. You feel guided rather than pressured. You sense possibilities instead of problems. Your decisions start coming from a place of confidence rather than fear, from expansion rather than contraction. This shift in internal state alters the quality of your actions, and in turn, the quality of your experiences. A calm mind is aware, present, and open to subtle messages. It can detect when something is right or wrong without needing endless analysis. You begin to trust the feeling of resonance within your body, because intuition often speaks not only through thoughts, but through sensation. A sense of lightness might signal the right direction, while a sense of heaviness might signal misalignment. A peaceful feeling may confirm the choice that aligns with your true path, while tension may warn you when something is not meant for you. These subtle signals become clearer the more you quiet the internal noise. Your inner system is always giving you feedback, but you must tune your awareness to perceive it. When the mind is calm, you access creativity, insight, and perspective that are unavailable during moments of chaos. This is why so many breakthroughs happen in moments of relaxation, during a walk, a shower, or a period of silence. The mind relaxes, resistance dissolves, and inspiration flows. You suddenly understand what previously confused you. You see the path where before you only saw obstacles. You realize that life was always guiding you, but you were too distracted to hear its guidance. This is why calming the mind is not merely a spiritual practice, it is a practical one. The clearer your inner guidance, the smoother your outer life becomes. As you develop the skill of calming the mind, you also develop the ability to distinguish intuition from fear. Fear feels urgent, pressured, and chaotic. Intuition feels calm, immediate, and steady. Fear creates tension in the body. Intuition creates expansion. Fear demands action. Intuition suggests direction. Fear is noisy. Intuition is quiet. When your mind is calm, the difference becomes unmistakable. You no longer confuse anxiety with guidance. You no longer mistake hesitation for intuition. You begin to trust the quiet voice because you can feel its certainty. You sense its knowing. You understand its subtle power. The more you trust your intuitive impressions, the stronger they become. Intuition responds to attention. When you acknowledge it, you amplify it. When you ignore it, you weaken the connection. A calm mind keeps this connection open. You begin to notice the patterns, the signs, the synchronicities that guide your path. You start recognizing how perfectly aligned events appear when you follow your inner cues. The universe begins to cooperate with you because you are listening. You take fewer forced actions and more inspired actions. Your timing becomes precise. Your decisions become effortless. You feel as though something larger is supporting you at every step. This shift transforms your entire experience of life. Instead of trying to control outcomes with logic alone, you co-create with the deeper intelligence that governs everything. You stop feeling lost. You stop feeling confused. You stop feeling disconnected. The calmness of your mind becomes the doorway to a higher awareness that is always guiding you. The more you practice calming your mind, the more natural this connection becomes, and the more you realize that intuition is not rare or mysterious. It is your natural state when fear and noise are removed. It is the voice of your deeper self, waiting patiently for the moment you become quiet enough to hear it. The universe aligns perfect outcomes when you release fear, because fear constricts your energy, narrows your perception, and blocks the natural flow of events that are meant to unfold for your highest good. Fear is a signal of distrust, a vibration that communicates to the deeper mind that you expect undesirable outcomes. When you hold fear, you interfere with the creative process because your emotional state sends a message that contradicts your intentions. But when you release fear, your energy expands. You shift into a state of openness where the universe can move freely, arranging circumstances that lead you toward fulfillment. Releasing fear is not about ignoring reality. It is about aligning with a higher reality where you recognize that you are supported by a power far greater than your worries. Fear creates mental confusion. It causes you to second-guess your decisions, doubt your abilities, and misinterpret signs. When you are fearful, you cannot see clearly because fear distorts perception. It magnifies obstacles and minimizes possibilities. It creates a sense of urgency that leads to impulsive or misaligned choices. But when you release fear, clarity returns. You see possibilities where you once saw limitations. You recognize solutions where you once saw problems. The universe aligns perfect outcomes when your perception is aligned with truth rather than fear. Releasing fear places you into a higher vibrational state where positive outcomes are more easily attracted. The universe responds to your dominant emotional vibration. When you are calm, confident, and trusting, you send a message of readiness. You signal that you expect good things, that you are aligned with your desire, that you are receptive to the unfolding of events. This emotional alignment draws circumstances into harmony with your intentions. The universe can rearrange people, events, and opportunities when your energy is open and receptive. But fear blocks this rearrangement by sending signals of resistance. Releasing fear is an act of surrender. It is the recognition that you do not need to control every aspect of your journey because there is an intelligence guiding you. This surrender is powerful because it removes the inner barriers that prevent the universe from orchestrating outcomes on your behalf. When you are no longer trying to force results, you allow the natural unfolding of events. You trust the timing, the process, and the unseen forces working for your benefit. In this trust, you move from struggle to flow. Flow is the state in which the universe works most efficiently. When you flow, you are guided by inspiration rather than fear. You take action when it feels aligned rather than when it feels forced. You listen to your intuition rather than your anxiety. This responsiveness to inner guidance creates the perfect conditions for the universe to orchestrate outcomes that align with your highest good. Releasing fear opens the pathway for this flow. The universe aligns perfect outcomes when you release fear, because fear is the only real barrier between you and the manifestation of your desires. Your desires already exist in potential form. They are waiting for you to align with them emotionally and mentally. Releasing fear removes the energetic block that prevents these potentials from becoming physical realities. When you shift from fear to trust, you open the doorway for manifestation. Trust tells the universe that you are ready. Trust creates the emotional environment where miracles can occur. Releasing fear also strengthens intuition. When you are no longer consumed by worry, you can hear the quiet inner guidance that leads you toward the right choices. Intuition guides you step by step, revealing the path one moment at a time. Fear blocks this guidance because it overwhelms the mind with worst-case scenarios. But when fear is released, intuition becomes clearer, and you begin to sense the next right step. Each step you take in alignment with intuition brings you closer to the outcome the universe is preparing for you. Fear also interferes with timing. When you act out of fear, you rush, force, or grasp for outcomes prematurely. But the universe has perfect timing, and this timing becomes accessible only when you are calm. Releasing fear allows you to move in harmony with divine timing rather than against it. You become patient not because you are waiting helplessly, but because you trust that the universe is arranging everything in the right sequence. When you move with this timing, everything unfolds smoothly, effortlessly, and perfectly. The universe aligns perfect outcomes when you release fear because fear is a signal that you are relying on the limited perspective of the conscious mind. But when you release fear, you shift into the perspective of the deeper mind, the part of you that knows you are guided, supported, and connected to infinite intelligence. This shift places you in the flow of abundance, clarity, and peace. In this flow, the universe can move freely, arranging circumstances with precision and ease. Releasing fear is the key to unlocking the full power of universal alignment. It is the key to receiving guidance, recognizing opportunities, and attracting the outcomes that reflect your highest good. When you release fear, you enter a state of receptivity where the universe can work through you and for you. In this state, perfect outcomes no longer feel miraculous, they feel natural because they arise from the harmony between your inner state and the intelligence that governs all things.